or take them to a doctor to get a pill to cure themselves. Hi, I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, out on Amazon. Welcome to my Asexualise, my Asexual Life channel. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. So yes, this is shocking. So I had someone apply to my Asexual friends group, and I am very good at sifting through people who apply to my groups. I do not let someone into my groups easily. They don't just get in like that. The majority of people are vetted. Obviously, if they're in one of my other groups and I already know them, that's a bit different. If I've seen them in other groups, I know they're legitimate. But even some of the people that apply to me, they're in other groups and I don't let them in if I do not think that they're a good fit for my group, or I do not believe they're genuinely asexual, right? Because my groups, I like to keep safe. And I'm so pleased to say that I don't really have any trouble in my groups usually. Any trouble, and it's sorted out very quickly. Everyone's kind of really mature and polite in there, no matter what their age. And I really have a lot of good atmosphere in my groups. You know, there's no trouble, which is great. I've recently had feedback from someone that in some groups that, you know, they're finding even within the asexual community groups that asexuals are excluded. For example, sex repulsed asexuals, that's what they feel. So you know, I have even found difficulties in other asexual groups myself, to be honest with you, but I'm glad that I run my groups very efficiently and effectively. So this guy applied to be in my asexual friends group, and I couldn't see that he was in any other asexual groups. And so I always ask the question, where do you fall on the asexual spectrum? This is something I ask everyone who enters my groups. And depending on how they answer that question is how they get into the groups or not. Now, some people who don't answer any questions, they specifically don't answer that question unless they come back with me for an answer and they're not in any other asexual groups, I usually decline them. So this particular guy, I asked him, hi girl, you applied. Oh, I'm going to show you, right? Because I've put it so that you can't see his actual identity. Hi girl, you applied to be in my asexual friends group, but you didn't answer any of the questions. Here they are, right? So this person says yes. And they're then given a thumbs up and they retracted a message. Now, the message they sent me was a picture, like a video of something to do with their country. So it had absolutely nothing to do with asexuality. Then he put, sorry. So I removed the message, but I did actually see it. And then he put, hi, hello, dear. How are you? And first of all, yeah, after dear, I said, I saw your message and it had nothing to do with asexuality. So I can't let you into my group if you aren't asexual. How are you? Yes, I am not asexual, but I have one other problem. Now, he's admitted he's not asexual, so he shouldn't really be applying for any groups anyway. However, under my own discretion and judgment, I do let some people into my asexual friends group who are not asexual if they are allies. So say they've got a friend who's asexual, say they've got a partner who's asexual, or a family member. They're not usually allowed in my other groups. My asexual friends, I have a degree of lenience around, but it's only a handful of people that usually have that lenience applied to them. So he didn't answer any of the questions. We established that he's not asexual. But I do have one other problem. Notice he's saying it's a problem. Just, I have one question only. My girlfriend is asexual. So he's straight off the bat saying to me, he's not asexual, but he has a problem, and that's the fact his girlfriend is asexual. Right? So he's automatically seeing that his girlfriend's sexuality, which is asexuality, is a problem. And this is a huge problem for asexuals in general. You know, this is a really bad attitude to have with his girlfriend. I declined you just now because you aren't asexual. What's your question? My girlfriend is asexual. I want to have sex with her. Can she do it or not? You need to ask her this, as every asexual is different. But she will not be able to have sex with you if she is a sex repulsed asexual. Then he's asking, please help me. right? If she doesn't want to have sex with him, she doesn't have to have sex with him. No asexual person has to have sex if they do not want to do it, right? And he's asking me for my help to get her to have sex with him. It's disgusting. So I said, I just answered you. You need to ask her. If she said no, then no. Yes, he is asexual. This guy's foreign, so he doesn't speak very good English. Yes, he is asexual, but how do I convince him to be able to do it? This can be caused by a medical or any medicine. So when he says he, it's actually girlfriend, so it's a she, but a lot of foreigners change the word her for he when they're speaking. So he's saying that his girlfriend is asexual. How do I convince her, even though he's put him, to be able to do it? So he's, in other words, he's trying to manipulate her into having sex with him. It doesn't say the word manipulate, but when you're having to convince someone to do something they don't want to do, it's like manipulation, right? Because you shouldn't have to convince someone to do something. They should want to do it in the first place or not, right? This can be caused by a medical or any medicine. So basically he's saying, oh, can I convince this person who's my asexual girlfriend to have sex by taking them to see a doctor or getting any medicine to solve their asexuality problem, basically? And then I replied, it's not a disorder. If you love the person, you should accept them for who they are or leave that relationship. No means no. I will spell it out to anyone who's listening to this right now. No means no. It doesn't matter what sexuality you are. If someone doesn't want sex, they don't want sex, right? It's disgusting. It's basically sexual abuse. So then he carries on. I like her a lot, but she doesn't want to have sex with me. So how can I convince her to have sex with me? You should not be making any girl or any person want to have sex with you. If she doesn't want it and no one wants it, you don't get it, right? Like, this is just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So, you know, it's just really, really ridiculous. And I'm sorry that I'm sorry that it, this is what they're saying about an asexual person, right? It's just not good. Heather, forcing someone to have sex is disgusting, Sandra. It is indeed. So yeah, they have the Facebook just it's not Facebook, YouTube just put that in for me to review. So oh, chat hidden. It's because I'm on my phone. It's hidden the chat now. Live chat. Oh my gosh. Right. So there we go. So yeah, forcing someone to have sex is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And this guy just carries on. I like her a lot, but she doesn't want to have sex. How can I convince her to have sex with me? So I said, you can't. It's her body. Well, actually, I changed my words to he instead of her now. I'm speaking like him, if you notice that. Oh my God. So I put, you can't. It's he body and he right, meaning it's her body and her right. If you love her, why would you want her to do something she doesn't like? Why would you care more about your needs than hers? And for any people who are watching this who aren't asexual, who don't understand asexuality, I'll read that bit out again. Right? If you love her, love someone, why would you want them to do something that they don't like, right? You might want sex, but if they don't like sex, they don't want it and don't need it, why would you want to do something with them that they don't want to do? Why would you want to force them, convince them to have something, to do something for your personal benefit that they don't want to do, that they don't like, right? So, why would you care more about your needs than hers? That's what a lot of heterosexuals do, unfortunately. Their needs seem to be greater than the asexual person's needs. So their need to have sex seems to be like that should override the fact of asexuals' needs not to have sex. It's just disgusting. One person's need is not more important than the other. And this is clearly an incompatible issue, but he won't let her go. He wants to keep her, but he wants to have sex with her when she doesn't want it. So he's keeping a relationship under false pretenses and not loving her for who she is. If he wants sex that badly, he needs to leave the relationship. I love her, not her body, so I accept that too. Well, he clearly doesn't. When I said, why would you, like, if you love her, why would you want her to do something she doesn't like? Why would you care more about your needs than hers? And then he said, I love her, not her body, so I accept that too. But he doesn't. So if that's true, why do you want to have sex when she doesn't want it? She doesn't want if I need. Can't she also fulfill my need if she loves me? Oh my God. So basically, even if he needs it, she doesn't want it. How many more times does she have to tell him she doesn't want it? It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Can she also fulfill my need if she loves me? No, because it's rape. It's sexual abuse. So, you know what I mean? He's not abusing himself if he doesn't have sex. He might be like, I don't know, holding his sexual needs back, but then he should he should not be in that relationship. So she can't force herself to like sex if she doesn't. To do something to you that she doesn't like would be like self-abuse and disrespecting herself. And if you do that with her and she doesn't want it, it's sexual abuse. It's not the same if you don't have sex with her because you like that. So it would cause you no pain. It would hurt her. If you love her, then you shouldn't want to do anything. Oh, I put should. I meant shouldn't want to do anything to her emotionally and physically. And if you love her for her and not her body, then it shouldn't be a problem to go without sex. If you want sex so badly, then leave that relationship and allow her to find a more compatible guy for her. And then I did say, I meant if you love her, you shouldn't want to do anything to cause her physical or emotional pain. Which is true. Like any person who is in a relationship with you or even a friendship with you and wanting to cause you causing you physical or emotional pain, they're not taking care of your physical or emotional needs. This could be like, even if you've got a friend and they've got a health condition and you're actually not helping them with their health condition, you're just making it worse, this type of thing, or emotionally upsetting them because you're not, you're not being nice emotionally to them, you're neglecting their emotional needs, anything like this. It doesn't have to be a love relationship. In this case, it's a love romance relationship, But if you love someone, a friend or a partner, you shouldn't be inflicting anything on them like emotional and physical pain. You certainly should not be going out of your way to do that like he is. He's basically trying to push her to do something she doesn't want to do. And I said, just masturbate yourself. Or leave the relationship if she doesn't want any type of sex and you can't live without it. It's quite plain and simple. And then look at this. This is really bad. So this guy's a really bad guy, right? No such person will match him here. He means his girlfriend. He means that she won't get anyone else. I know. So give him this sawdust again. I don't know what the hell this bit means. In this cruel world, there are less human beings and more animals. I actually got lost about what the hell he was talking about, other than I know that he was saying that she can't get anyone else but him. And this is narcissistic, right? No such person will match him. So basically, this is what people try and get you to believe. As an asexual person, you can't get anyone else but them if they're a bad person, if they're a narcissist or abuser. Heather, asexual is not a medical condition. Exactly. Asexuality is definitely not a medical condition. And I said earlier in this conversation, it's not a disorder. It's not a medical condition. No one needs to see a doctor. There's nothing wrong with being asexual or not wanting, liking, needing, or getting the urge for sex. Yes, there's some asexuals that partake in sex. Some don't mind having sex. Some are sex positive. But there's a lot of asexuals that are sex repulsed, like this person's girlfriend is, right? And it's definitely not a disorder. It's definitely not a medical condition. There's no pill to cure it because there's nothing wrong with us. It's a sexual orientation. It's not a disease or an illness or some plague or something, you know what I mean? It's not like we want to have sex and we take Viagra or something to make us do it because we can't get it up. We're not impotent. Impotency is not the same as asexuality. There might be some asexuals though who are impotent, however, but most of us can get it up or have the tackle down below to do the deed, if you know what I mean. It's just that we don't want to in the first place, right? The majority who lack sexual attraction, don't get the need, urge, or want for it, who are pure asexuals, they have no sexual attraction at all. Most pure asexuals do not want to have sex. There are more great asexuals who are more likely to have it. But yeah, so this is really bad when you say no such person will match him here, right? Never, ever, ever let anyone limit your beliefs to thinking you can't get anyone else but them. It is much better to be single forever than be with this type of guy anyway, who won't clearly take no for an answer, does not understand or accept this person's asexuality, and just all they do is keep going on and on about sex, right? I said there are asexuals. So basically, because he said no such person will match him here, he's saying this girlfriend can't get anyone else, right? She's the best he can do. So, but he wants sex out of her. You know, this is disgusting. And, you know, I won't have such limiting beliefs. I was recently told by the Indian guy that I knew in Exeter, he put in one of his messages about the fact I would only basically get someone like him for a relationship, and then told me obviously he's not interested in a relationship like he originally said, because he's not romantically attracted to me. So he shouldn't have said that in the first place. But anyway, in part of the message, it's like, oh, the only way you're going to get someone is if they're like me, like estranged from their family and depressed. I'm like, why do they have to be depressed to like be with me? He's like, oh, because they'd be different. I'm like, you know, I don't have limiting beliefs, and that is a huge red flag when he said that. I'm like, well, I don't have limiting beliefs. I don't believe you're the only possible match for me, I said to him, you know, so I really don't. And I'd rather stay single forever than be with someone who thinks or hints that I can't get anyone. Peer pressure isn't cool. Exactly. It's disgusting. And for people, you know, like, it isn't good to have limiting beliefs. In other words, make someone believe you can only have them in a relationship with you, right? That is not a good thing to say. I know narcissistic people say stuff like that. Oh, you can only get me. I'm the only one for you. You won't get anyone better than me. Like you're unworthy or something. No asexual is unworthy to be in a relationship with, right? Just because you don't want sex, you've got lots of other qualities, intelligence, emotional connection. You can still do other physical things, right? You're a person, a human being with a brain and a conscience, usually, and kind, caring person. And that means a lot. Thank you for the thumbs up. So I said to this guy, there are asexuals all over the globe, including Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. It's better to be single than with a person who's pressurizing you to do something you don't want to do. That's not love. I've even spelled it out to him. You either stay with them and accept them for who they are, which I'm talking about his girlfriend, or go from their life if you can't be sex free and that's what they need, as you're incompatible. Yeah, so I've said, or go from their life if you can't be sex free, as that's what they need. They need a sex free life, as you are incompatible. So then he carries on. See, this guy's really bad. I've blocked him, as you can see in the end, because I got so fed up. You can tell so much. It's like, I'm not going to sit here in a conversation with a guy like this for hours on end. It's wasting my time. He's not even listening to me. May I take him to a doctor? So he's completely ignored what I said about not being a disorder. If any treatment is possible, I am willing to do that. Hi. You know, so clearly this guy is really bad. Probably a narcissist by the look of it. Probably. Because he's basically saying the girl can't get anyone else but him, and, you know, trying to push his will onto her. In any case, he's got some traits that are not good traits, you know, because he's trying to force her to do something she doesn't want to do. It all revolves around him getting his needs met, you know, and him basically saying she's got something wrong with her and let's get a pill to change her. And treatment, you know, it's disgusting. But even from the moment, if I go back to the beginning when I talked to him, it's like, yes, I'm not asexual, but I have one other problem. My girlfriend is asexual. So he's already saying that his girlfriend's asexuality is a problem for him. So if it's a problem, then why be with her, right? You know what I mean? Like, why be with her if he wants something that she doesn't want to do? You know, you can't make someone have sex with you. You can't push someone to have sex. There's no doctor that needs to see an asexual. There's nothing wrong with asexuals. We don't get the need, urge, or want for sex. That's what it's based on. There's different types of asexuals. Some are more on the more grey end of the asexual spectrum, so they do experience sexual attraction infrequently, under limited circumstances, rare circumstances, or not enough to want to act on it. So yes, there are a variety. But if we take the pure asexuals, don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, or the sex repulsed asexuals, most of which are the same, because most pure asexuals are likely to be sex repulsed, then, you know, it's just like they don't want to do it. So if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it because they don't get the need, urge, or want in the first place. It's not, you can't cure something that's not there originally. You know, medicine and cures are to you know, prevent an illness or to cure an illness or disease. It's not an illness or a disease to be asexual. It's a sexual orientation. I don't know how much more I can tell these people that, you know what I mean? It's a sexual orientation. It's not a disease. And I get really peed off when people think it is a disease. Oh. So there was someone who asked me an interesting question. I don't know if I can get this up here actually. But it's like this was a nice person. But again, it's kind of like they don't really understand asexuality. So I'm just gonna cover them up. And right, okay. So let me see. They're a really nice person, so I want to be careful of their identity. Right, okay, so let's flip it back over. So, hi Sandra, Manta here. I read your comment. This was in a spiritual group. I also don't feel like to have sex with anyone. Don't feel like to exchange my energy. I feel people use bodies in terms of having sex. This is very low grade act for me. Would you like to share your thoughts on this? Right. So I wrote back about this, right, which they didn't respond to. So I said, hey, Manta, I am out at the moment. Thanks for your question. Asexuality is my sexual orientation, and I don't experience sexual attraction or get the need, urge, or want for sex at all. So I don't have those feelings. In terms of sexual energy, I don't feel within me, but I have it. I do have a glowing, bubbly, energetic personality and essence to my being, but that's not sexual for me. Yeah, I said, I know some people don't have sex to preserve their sexual energy, whereas I don't want sex as I just don't like it or have a need for it. I'm much more into kissing and passion without sex and sensuality with the guy's upper body, and I think the body looks better clothed. I do agree that a lot of guys use women for their bodies, which disgusts me. And I'm not a virgin, but I do think it's good for virgins who want to keep their virginity for themselves and not have sex. Unfortunately, in the dating world, of which I'm a part of, there are a lot of avoidant guys and those not working on their traumas, and quite a lot of narcissistic guys, which is a shame. I've just had my heart broken by a guy, but that wasn't because of a lack of sex, and we weren't even dating. So I'm out at the moment prioritizing my self-care. So this was yesterday. So yeah, it's you know, people think that sexual energy is like, if you conserve sexual energy, you can use it for other things like creativity and hobbies and interests, and you can use it kind of like within yourself. And there's a lot of people who I'm surrounded within kind of the spiritual groups in the healing community. I'm part of Blue Talks, which is speaking programs, but quite a lot of them are healers in there, and people who, you know, are of a spiritual mindset. And a lot of people talk about sexual energy, but for me, I don't feel I have sexual energy, you know. And I mean, I'm, you know, other people might pick sexual energy up from me. Guys sometimes, well, I've had a guy say that to me before. I'm sure he's not the first guy who's thought that, but I don't feel like I've got sexual energy. I just feel like I've got a really exciting energy that's non-sexual within me. I don't know how to describe it, but that's how I would describe it. You know, that I've got a non-sexual energy within me, and it's like, you know, it's just like my bubbly self. It's like a passionate self, you know. And so when people describe sexual energy, for me, I don't really relate to that for myself. I understand other people have it, but some people believe that you can't do things without sexual energy. And I'm like, what? If I don't feel I have sexual energy, again, I don't limit my beliefs and think, oh, I can't do certain things just because I haven't got sexual energy. Do you know what I mean? That's such limiting beliefs. And in the spiritual world, in the mindset world, you know, with spirituality, the whole point is don't have limiting beliefs. Yet sometimes in these groups and communities, they're limiting the beliefs by thinking they've got to have, you know, they've got a sexual energy, so what they do with it hugely influences their life. Well, I don't feel I have sexual energy, so I don't let it worry me or bother me because I don't have that in the first place, and I still do a lot of stuff in my life. Do you know what I mean? Because I think asexuals anyway, if we don't like sex particularly, we're always like plowing our own personal energy into hobbies and interests and other things because we just don't want the sex in the first place and we don't have to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit irrelevant in that way. But, you know, I've had some person who I had a coaching session with, but it didn't go that well because he started talking about sexual energy and, you know, you need it to like manifest and do stuff. There's a lot of myths in sexual community. Yeah, there is a lot of myths in the sexual community. Not just the asexual community. There's a lot of myths about asexuality in the sexual community, and a lot of myths in the sexual community, you know, like, I mean, people think everyone's got sexual energy, and I do exude an energy, I would say, but for me, it's not sexual because I don't get those sexual feelings. So, do you know what I mean? Someone commented on one of my comments on a video, wasn't one of my videos, and they're like, how can you be asexual if you get aroused? Like, just because someone's not around you that you like doesn't mean to say you're asexual. I said I lack sexual attraction. I don't get the need, urge, or want for partner sexual intercourse. That's why I'm asexual. You know, if I get arousal, it's a feeling in the genitalia. It's got nothing to do with being sexually attracted to someone and wanting partner sexual intercourse. You know, you can get aroused on your own. I get aroused just about thinking about kissing. Not all the time, I don't. Sometimes. But other times I don't even get that, you know? So it's for me, like kissing, like sometimes I get aroused with it, sometimes I don't. Other times it's just like I've waited 8 months for a Christmas present and here it's come and I'm so excited. That type of excitement, not arousal excitement, but more of arousal of the senses rather than the like just genitalia, if you know what I mean. I don't know how to describe it. It's like getting a present you've wanted for months. I want kissing. So I got it. Oh, kissing, nice. No, I haven't got kissing at the moment. I'm kissing deprived right now, but there you go. So yeah, you can't make an asexual have sex. That's classed as rape or sexual abuse, and it is with anyone trying to force anyone to do that. You know, if you're not comfortable with an asexual who doesn't want, like, or need sex, and you need that, then don't be with that asexual person. Set them free to be with someone else, and it's not your business as to whether they can find someone else or not. You know, so it's just like Heather. Example would be if you never had sex, then they think you're weird. Laugh out loud. They say no one will I'm trying to see the message. They say no one will want you. Yeah, right, yes, Heather, I know what you're talking about now. So I'm trying to hold the phone. I'll put it there a minute. Right, so yeah, it's definitely a myth that. So no one will want you is a load of rubbish, right? Like, there are asexuals in the community who don't have sex, and you know, they are still wanted, like, and loved and needed and cherished, even if it's just by their friends. And there are asexuals that are married to other asexuals. There are asexuals in relationships with other asexuals. There are some asexuals that are in relationships with sexuals, you know? So, you know, the fact that people say that no one will want you, like, why is your value on whether you have sex or not? It shouldn't be. You should never base your value on whether you have sex or not. I know, unfortunately, a lot of the world heterosexual population do value someone by the amount of sex they're not having or having with them, and that is really not good. It's a bad mindset to have, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're putting your emphasis on the worth of someone to do with where they have sex or not, share their genitalia with you or not, then you're not valuing them as a person. You're not valuing their personality, right? When people are in a relationship for a long period of time, what do you want? Like, someone will give you sex 3 times a day, but be really shitty to you and really nasty to you and put you down and belittle you and treat you like shit? Or do you want someone who's like, doesn't want sex, but is really kind, caring, loving, you know, it's there for you emotionally, it's there to support you with your, you know, what's going on with your mind and your emotions? Like, I personally am not good with physical stuff, in the sense that I don't do housework for a guy and stuff like that. I have fibromyalgia, it's a disability, and I'm not prepared to put my body through hell just to wash up for a guy when it hurts me to do washing up for myself, you know? But I'm very good with the guy's emotional needs and stuff like that. Most of the time, most guys want experienced women Yeah, that's why they like me, because obviously you heard that. Yeah, there's a lot of older guys, sorry, a lot of younger guys that like older women because of the experience. I have a lot of experience actually. I mean, I have been in heterosexual relationships for half my life. I'm an experienced kisser. I get guys going, oh well, I haven't got any kissing experience. Like, how would like because I talk about like sometimes with younger guys, I talk about kissing. They're like, oh, I haven't got any kissing experience. I'm like, well, it's fine because I do have a lot of kissing experience. I'm an expert in it. I'm good at teaching guys how I like to be kissed. There's no problem for me. But yes, obviously I'm doing the Asexual Guide to Sex book for any asexuals that are thinking about having sex. But the book is definitely not saying have sex if you're asexual. It's saying do not have sex until you've read the book, right? To make sure you make an informed choice and decision if you want to go ahead and do it, if you're thinking about doing it in the first place. For any asexuals who don't want sex, don't have it. It's as simple as that. You know, no one should be forcing themselves to have sex when they don't want to have it. And I think it's a shame that society and people value a person's worth in a relationship by how much sex they are or are not having. Like, I mean, you could get someone, like I said, who gives you a lot of sex, but I mean, they might be emotionally unavailable for you. They might not understand your needs. They might not understand your mindset. You might come home from work and they might just not want to even talk to you, and you've had a really bad day and you need to air your views about stuff. They might not understand you like emotionally and stuff like that. They might not want to talk to you that much and communicate with you. You know, like I have been in heterosexual relationships, and if I compare asexuals and the type of connections I've made through asexuality and asexual groups and talking to asexuals, it's a much more emotional connection in general than it is when I was with heterosexuals in the past. Like I find heterosexuals, because they're so focused on sex, they don't really connect emotionally that much to the person, not in a healthy way, shall I say. It's more like I want to argue with you or fight with you or get on each other's nerves or something. I don't know, but that's probably because I've got experience of guys that are no good for me. But with an asexual, it's more like intellectual connection. It's more like emotional connection. It's more like hobbies and interest connection. It's more like nicer connection in general, I think personally, overall. Um, but my best friend, they're not. My best friend originally identified as asexual, but they don't anymore. But they because they like guys and girls, so in different ways. So it's kind of hard, but they don't identify as asexual anymore. Because they like guys in a sexual way, but they like women in an aesthetic and romantic way. So I actually met them for an asexual dating site, my best friend. They're amazing. So yeah, and I get on so well with them. But they're very kind and caring. But sex is not like, you know, sex is important to them, but it's not part of their life, if you know what I mean. So they've been single basically throughout their life, pretty much. So yeah, they don't need it in that way. But if they were getting into a relationship, they would need it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, but so they're very understanding. They're like, because they thought they were asexual, and in terms of women, their attraction for women is actually an asexual attraction, because there's no sexual attraction there whatsoever. So they do understand that I'm asexual, and they're really supportive all the time. But you know, it's like even with them, I have a really good connection with them. With they're very loving friendship connection. They're amazing. We really support each other. Like every day, we're there with positive words for each other, positive appreciation for each other. And it's just so nice to have that connection without sex. You know, it's just so good. It's much more loving, kind, caring, supportive. I personally prefer a relationship without sex, from the fact that I do actually personally believe, obviously I'm going to be a bit biased because I am asexual, I do personally believe it's pure love without sex is so much better. I think it's much more intimate, providing the person is emotionally available and emotionally can connect with you. You know, I think it's much better than having sex in a relationship personally, you know, because I find I'm much better connected to someone when I don't have sex, and that it's a much more special connection, a much more like deep friendship connection. And the best relationships, even the sexual ones, are ones that are based on deepest ever friendship and deep emotional connection. You can't have a really good, healthy relationship without an emotional connection. You just can't do it. And without bestest friendship, you know, if you don't have those two elements, emotional connection, bestest ever friendship, with the person you're in a love relationship, romantic relationship, life partner relationship with, it's not going to be healthy and it's not going to work. You know, it's taken me quite a long time over the years to figure that out, right? But it's true. I mean, I listen to some like top dating coaches and stuff like that as well, and they say the same thing. You know, you've got to have bestest ever friendship. And this is why when people go, oh, you don't want sex, you just want a friend. It's like, well, actually, no, I don't just want a friend, because I don't kiss my friends. I don't hold their hand and I don't cuddle them. I give my friends hugs sometimes, but that's it, right? I don't have that level of physical intimacy with just my friends. So it really annoys me when people say that. But if you're going to get into a relationship long term with someone, they're going to need to be your best friend anyway. You know, a best friend. Like, I would never give up my friend, my best friend now, for a romantic friendship relationship. But I'll keep my best friend now, but I'll have a romantic best friend, if you know what I mean. So I have like two best friends, and so that'll be good. But, you know, I need to be best friends with the guy first before having a relationship with him. And if you can't be best friends, and the reason why it's so important to be best friends is because you look out for each other when you're best friends. Like, if you have a foundation of bestest ever friendship for a relationship, right? Romantic relationship, even, right? If you have that as a foundation, you're much less likely going to hurt the person and want to hurt them, because you already value them as a friend and you value that connection and bestest ever friendship. You're more likely to look out for them physically, emotionally, mentally, want to protect them, want to care for them, want to nourish the relationship, because you've already got that foundation built. If you've got a stranger that comes into your life and you don't really know them that well, you're usually not so heavily invested. However, because I'm a hyper romantic, I do get emotionally invested quite quickly with some guys. But in general, people don't tend to get as invested, and I genuinely care, but some people are not so open in their heart as me. They don't so much care just like that. I actually genuinely care. Even all the guys that haven't treated me well, like the guys that I talk about on here, I still have genuinely cared about them, because I'm a caring person. I don't just switch my emotions off. I don't just say, oh, I didn't care about them when I did, because I don't lie and I'm not dishonest. I'm really transparent. And, you know, like one of the viewers on here, an Indian friend actually in India, hello to him if he's watching, you know, he said, oh yeah, you have a heart of gold, you know, and I'm very about love and light, you know, and happiness. But if I don't have a strong foundation of friendship with the person, and whoever gets into a relationship with me, or whoever gets into a relationship with someone else, you need to have bestest ever friendship. That's what true love's built on. It's not built on just chemical attraction where all chemicals are flying. It's so exciting to begin with. You know, it's proper love, long lasting love. It's based on like open, honest communication, lots of conversations about anything and everything, building up a friendship, building up trust and care and respect, but mutually. If it's just one way, it's not going to work. Every relationship is a team effort, and team means plural, you know, two or more people. If just one person is pulling the weight of that friendship or relationship, it isn't going to work, and it isn't fair, and it's not proper love. It's just like one-sided selfishness on one person's part, and the other person giving all their time and energy effort, pretty much. So always pay attention to that, you know, or when you're dating or get into a relationship or even a friendship, like see how much the person's messaging you back. It should be equal most of the time. Nothing's ever going to be equal, like, but you know, there should be a sense of equality there. You know, if you're writing like 3 or 4 paragraphs and they're just putting like 2 sentences, you know that they're not really that interested, right? Because it's like they're not putting much time, energy, and effort in, right? And for me personally, you know, in order to have a healthy relationship or friendship, like a close one, the closer, you know, I want more communication with that person. But, you know, anyone who thinks they're gonna like cure an asexual of their asexuality shouldn't even be with an asexual person. Like, it's disgusting. We're not a disease. There's nothing wrong with us. We're not sick. We are naturally not liking, wanting, or needing sex, the majority of us. We don't experience sexual attraction, the majority of us, you know? We don't get those feelings in the first place. We're not suppressing, we're not repressing, we're not holding back like celibate people would, or people are abstaining from sex for whatever reason. We're not doing that, right? We don't get those feelings in the first place. And the people on grey end of the spectrum, asexual spectrum, they do have some feelings, but it's different to the normal sexual attraction. It's infrequent, rare, only in certain circumstances, and a lot of the time they need a deep emotional connection in the first place to be able to do anything like that. The ones on the more sexual end of the spectrum. But for me, I love through a deep emotional connection. That's how most asexuals love anyway. It's through a deep emotional connection. We want to experience that love in a way that's highly connected to the person, in a way that feels like we're with them, like like if you've suffered with PTSD or CPTSD, there's like a disconnect there. You can get that if feeling from a person if you're not in like good healthy communication regularly with the person. If you're not having open honest communication, it can feel like you're disconnected from the person, especially as asexuals love through a deep emotional connection. If that emotional connection need is not met, it can feel like you're disassociated from them, like from your other half, disconnected from them. And that's not good or healthy. But if there's any people out there who are so sex mad or need sex, as their actual personal need, then don't be with an asexual who's sex repulsed, because it's just a recipe for disaster. It's very unfair to both people, and it's sexually incompatible, right? If you want sex and they're a sex repulsed asexual and you can't live without sex and they don't want it, then don't be with that person, right? If you're going to get with a sex repulsed asexual and they never want sex, you gotta like understand, is it a monogamous relationship or polyamorous? Polyamorous means open, see other people. Monogamous means one person only. If the person's monogamous and so are you, then you can't go round having sex with other people. So if you can't live without sex, if masturbating yourself is not enough, then don't be with an asexual who's sex repulsed. Right? Don't try and change them. Don't try and fix them. Don't try and think there's a magic pill where you can take them to a doctor to cure them, because it's not a disease. It's not an illness. There is nothing wrong with someone not liking, wanting, or needing sex, right? It's natural for some people to feel that way. And that is really important, because some people think, oh, it's not natural. It's natural for everyone to want sex. It's naturally for everyone to have it. Like, I do follow someone on Instagram, and I met her through the Beauty Talks community, and what she does is programs to do with sexuality, but it's all to do with using sexual energy to heal yourself, right? But you don't have to have sexual energy to heal yourself. You can like go back through your past traumas, and you can do work with a therapist, for example, to heal your trauma. You don't need sexual energy to heal your traumas. But however, I have learned that you do need a degree of intimacy in order to heal trauma. So people believe sometimes that trauma is just a solo activity, that all you do is heal yourself. But actually, healing is a process, I've learned, by being self-reliant, not codependent on other people, but also it's to do with like having intimacy with someone that's secure intimacy, which where you can trust that person. But that's only built up over time. It's not an overnight fix, and you can't securely attach to unhealthy people, so you got to watch that. I can't see all the messages at the moment. Oh, right. It's not freely given consent if you've had to convince them to have sex. They should be looking for someone who is going to consent enthusiastically. Yes, I agree, gamer. It's definitely not good. Definitely not, It's they that's what I was basically trying to say earlier, is that if he has to convince his partner to have sex, it's like manipulation, like, what can I do to convince her? Can I take her to the doctors? Can I get her to have a bill, to get her to have sex with me because I want it and she doesn't want it? It's like, you can't do that. That's like sexual abuse. It's emotional manipulation to get sex out of the person. It's just ridiculous. And as soon as he said, oh, I have one problem, my girlfriend's asexual, he's already seeing his girlfriend's asexuality as a problem. So he doesn't see her as an ally to him. He sees her as a problem that he needs to basically break down, to break down by convincing her, in other words, forcing her to think like he thinks and give him sex. It's just disgusting. I think the whole thing's very manipulative, coercion. It's very coerced, and that's a form of abuse. Sexual abuse, like sexual coercion, is a form of sexual abuse. I think some people, especially foreigners, don't seem to understand what sexual abuse means. If you do something that's a sexual touching through clothes, for example, or any type of sexual action that's unwanted and unconsensual, that's classed as sexual abuse. And so foreign guys seem to think it's okay, like, to even touch a woman through clothes and then her say, oh, I didn't like that afterwards. It's like, oh, well, I've done it now type thing. I didn't mean to do it. It's like, of course you meant to do it. If you go around putting your hands on someone's body, it's a lie, you know? And so it's not good. So yeah, no asexual should have to go through that. I really wish that he would just split up with his girlfriend rather than him trying to push her to have sex and him treating her like she's a problem. He's damn lucky to have her, right? If you're someone who's with an asexual person who's sex repulsed, they're not going to physically cheat on you and have affairs. You've got that permanent reassurance that that person's never going to do that. It's basically like guaranteed. If an asexual is sex repulsed, they hate sex, they don't ever want sex, they're not going to be going off having an affair with someone else and having sex with them. Doesn't mean to say people can't have emotional affairs, but in terms of physical affairs, it isn't going to happen. And so if you're in a relationship with someone like that, you should be thankful and grateful to them. That's never going to happen, because with you, it could happen. And they've got that stress and that worry, if you're not asexual, that could happen with you and you could go off and do that. Whereas with an asexual who's sex repulsed, you're guaranteed they're not going to do that. So you've got that complete peace of mind forever. Forever, if you keep them forever in a relationship with you, which clearly you shouldn't be doing. If you need sex and they don't want it and you think their asexuality is a problem to you, right? So, it just blows my mind that these people even come in my inbox trying to get me to help them to get their girlfriend to have sex with them when they don't want it. It's disgusting. It really is. And this guy applied to my asexual friends group. I mean, I'm so glad I didn't let him in there. I'm so glad I questioned him, because a lot of other asexual groups that I know of, they don't really question people that much. They just let them in the groups. There's one group and it's full of people who are not just asexuals. They've got sexuals in them as well. And some people who I know I've had trouble with them, they're in other people's groups, and I'm like, well, that's up to them, isn't it? But I've given up telling other groups now, because a lot of the time they don't bother listening anyway. They'll let in who they want to let in, which is fair enough, because it's their groups, their admin, they can do what they like. But I personally don't like letting people in who are not asexual to most of my groups. Like I said, asexual friends I do have some lenience with, because I do allow them if they've got a partner or stuff, if I think they're okay. But this is only a handful. There's probably only about, I don't know, 10 people in that whole group that aren't asexual, I think, something like that probably. And so, I might do that at my discretion, because that's up to me. But usually my other groups, I don't let that happen. They have to be asexual to be in the other groups. And I'm very careful and picky with the questions I ask, So I'm thank God that this guy never came into the asexual community. I never let him into my friends group. I did question him, because just imagine the amount of havoc he could have created, or the amount of people he might even be starting to message in the group like that. I protect my members. One girl was really weird. I asked her questions and she didn't want to answer them. She's quite offhand with me. And then she made a comment about me saying, are you this? And I'm like, no. And then she decided not to be in the group, but she put on her profile that she was in a relationship and she's applying for a dating group. So, I was questioning that, and I don't think she liked it. And she's like, oh, you've only got like 700 and something members anyway. So yeah, it's like, so what if I've only got 700 and something members? They're all really like, the quality of my groups are high, and I'd rather have 700 and something members than 3,000, a huge proportion of which are not even asexual. You know what I mean? It's because they just let anyone in, and they just let anyone into the groups. They don't really think about the consequences of letting these people into groups, Some people, they don't even know what asexual is. Others are sexual, and they think asexual means, oh, it's a group for sexual people. Let's go and dive into that then, you know what I mean? Because they just, asexual, they don't know what it means, absence of sexual attraction, the A in front of sexual put together. They just think it's an asexual group, so they think it's for sexuals. They're like, oh, I want a dating group, let's go in that, It's like, and then we end up getting a load of sexuals in those types of groups. And then you think, oh, well, why is there problems? But, most of my groups are nice. We have play conversations. Some of them are not maybe so active in, as some other groups, but then I have far less problems in them. And we have theme posts in my group. So about hobbies, interests, sharing photographs, sharing what books we're reading, sharing what films we're watching. And I like that, because it's not focused on sex, and it's not just about asexuality. I share my videos like this in there, but it's good to talk about other things, so that's how I usually work my groups, to keep groups active. We have theme posts different days, So it's interesting. But, I'm just get disgusted with the amount of sexuals that don't understand asexuality, that think that some magic dick, for example, as well, is going to solve an asexual's problems with being asexual. Like, it doesn't matter what size penis you have or what anatomy you've got. It's not going to make someone not be asexual. You can't, like, make a lesbian not be lesbian, even if you try and have sex with them against their will. They're still going to be a blimmin' lesbian. I don't know why people don't get that. Like, I blocked someone, was it last year or early this year? It was a guy who'd been on my friends list for a long time, right? And, like, I hadn't even heard, I mean, I hadn't heard from him for ages. And then all of a sudden, I remembered that he had this conversation where he's like, oh, basically, he wanted to have sex with me and put his whatever, like, he thought by having sex with me, like, his dick was so magical that it'd make me not asexual anymore. And it's disgusting. And so I've blocked him now. But you know what I mean? It's like hideous. It's like, why do you think that just because you have sex with someone, you can force them to change their identity? It's like, no, you shouldn't be forcing them to do anything. And if you can't accept them and love them for who they are, then don't be with them, right? There's people that are highly sexual that do cheat on you. An asexual who's sex repulsive is not going to cheat on you, right? But are you going to cheat on them? If you're going to cheat on them and you know that, don't be with them in the first place. It just wastes your time and it wastes the time of asexuals, right? It's much better for asexuals to be single forever than it is with these type of people that want them to be something they're not, It's just horrible. And, it's very, how can I put it? It's very disheartening as well when you're on dating sites and all the time you put in your bio, I put in my bio about asexuality and I don't want a sexual relationship, and most of them just ignore it. They like me on the picture alone, which is nice because it means, in a sense, it means I have a nice face, because that's basically what they're scoring me on. Like, oh, I'll like her because I like the look of her as in her face and aesthetics, which, it's nice to be popular because of my aesthetics, but at the end of the day, it's no good for me because when it comes to them speaking to me, they just haven't read my bio. Most of the guys I get on Badoo, they want kids. It's like, I don't want kids. I put in my bio, I don't want children. It's just ridiculous. It gets very disheartening. Dating is hard for anyone, including heterosexuals these days. And so that makes it even harder for asexuals. And it makes it really difficult when you put in your profile bio that you're asexual, don't want sex, and most ignore it. They don't believe it's true, or they think you're just holding back from having sex for a few months. And then when you get to know them, then you'll have sex. They're just being cautious and all that. It's like, no, if I said I don't want sex, no means no. What part of no do you not understand? What part of no means something else but no? It means no. You know what I'm saying? So it just gets very disheartening, very disgusting, these type of things. The fact that people think they can fix us like we're some animal that needs to have a snip or something to its bits, or in the case of like this, the opposite way around, you need to have something to stick on to enhance your sexuality or something. It's just ridiculous. It's very sad. I just want more and more people to accept asexuality as a genuine sexual orientation. I think it should be much more widely known all over the dating sites. Badoo have got a category for asexuals, but yet you can't filter by asexual. So I can't filter to look for other asexuals. I can only put on my profile I'm asexual, and people just don't have a clue what that is usually. And so we need a much more education on dating sites and dating, apps and things like that. I think everyone should be having like blog posts on them saying about asexuality, like what it is, so they can educate members, so we can get rid of all this, oh, you're going to have sex with me because if we go on a date, that's expected, or if we get into a relationship, that's expected. But it shouldn't be. They should know that there are people who genuinely don't want sex, and that should be factored into dating and dating apps and dating websites. It should be normal that some people don't want that, so that people aren't shocked and surprised when someone doesn't want sex. It's very interesting because I attended a networking session this week, and I was talking with a few people about what I do, like helping asexuals and about asexuality. And this guy said to me, I didn't know it was a real thing. This woman told me years ago that she was like that, but I didn't believe her. I thought it wasn't true. I said, yeah, it's true. I help asexual. I've been doing it for years now. And I'm asexual, and I just don't get need, urge, or want for partners' sexual intercourse. I don't get those things. So it's very true. And he was like, oh, and I think he was shocked because he did say he thought she was making it up. He didn't believe her. But I'm like, it's a genuine thing. Like, you know, I'm really proud that I'm getting on bigger podcasts now, like James Miller Lifeology radio show. I was on I was on that this week, so don't forget to check it out if you haven't already. And that has already come back from James. He estimates so far it's had 3 million listeners on the radio. It's had another 200,000. I think it's on streaming platforms, and then another 20,000 elsewhere, you know? So I think so far we're on about 322,000. Sorry, 3,220,000 people. Yeah, 3 million on 3 million on the radio listenership, 20k on streaming services, and another 2k somewhere else. I'll do a shorts video about that so I can show you what he said, but it's estimated because he hasn't got the final results till the end of the month. But usually his episodes mostly have 3.5 million listeners per episode on average. So yeah, I'm really happy. That's across all his streaming platforms. I'm really happy, you know, that, you know, we've got 3,220,000. That's right, 3,220,000 listeners so far to the episode. I'm not great at maths. It's not my strong point. I just remember he said 200,000 and 20,000. 200k, 20k. It's amazing. I'm really proud of that. You know, it is getting asexually recognised to a much more global audience. James is part of the LGBT community. He's gay himself. He's got a male partner. And so he's really understanding about asexuality. In fact, it shocked him, if you've listened to the interview, it absolutely shocked him to hear that asexuals get discriminated against. That sometimes their family and friends turn against them because they find out they're asexual and they can't cope with the fact that someone's asexual, you know. It's uncomfortable for them, you know. And he can believe that. He was in shock. He's like, how can someone not be friends with someone who just doesn't like or want sex, you know? He doesn't get it at all. He was in shock about that. And it's true. It's like, why would someone not wanting sex affect you? It's really none of your business. Like, if they don't want sex, then what does it matter to you? If you're friends with someone who doesn't want sex, in a way, it's better for you because you know they're not going to sexually come on to you. I can only assume that most people that like feel that way, one is because they're really uncomfortable that someone's different to them and they think asexuality is not natural, but two is they want that person to be sexually attracted to them when they're never going to be. So yeah, and they can't fulfill them like that. So, but it is difficult for asexuals on the dating scene. It's difficult for asexuals in general because people just don't get us or understand us, and they automatically think it's a disorder or a sickness or it's totally unnatural and it needs to be cured. It's just not like that. It's not disease. It's not a disorder. It's not an illness. You know, it's beautiful. Asexuality is beautiful. You know, I think pure love without sex is amazing, right? You know, like lots of people have the sexual energy get in the way of things. They get sexually attracted to people who are completely wrong for them, but the sexual energy is so powerful they can't stop that relationship, and they're up and down arguing all the time, you know, because it's based on sexual attraction rather than mutual respect, love, kindness, caring, understanding, and compassion. You know, to have a loving relationship, you've got to have all these qualities: caringness, a genuine care for the other person's welfare, genuinely want to look out for the other person, genuinely want to be in their life, genuinely want to know what's happening with them in their life. You know, you need to have an emotional connection. You need to care about them and be invested in them and their life, not just be speaking to them when it's convenient to you or when you want something. You know, this is how you can tell if someone genuinely cares about you or not. You know, and someone genuinely loves. I mean, the toxic love is like, oh, I love you, but I'm really not that bothered about you. I'm not going to phone you or text you or audio call you much. I'm just going to be there in a message when you're there for me all the time. I'm just going to let you do all the work, do most of the messaging, do most of the arranging, do most of the driving of the relationship. It's like, that's not love. That's just one-sided selfishness, you know? It's not care, you know? To genuinely care about the person, it's two-way street, you know? And you should care about the person's emotions and physicality, you know? Why would you want to hurt someone physically by pushing them to have sex when they don't want it, when you're supposed to love them? That's not love. You know, if you're coercing someone, convincing them to have sex with you, that's not love. It's just sexual desire for the body, right? Basically, You know, if you can't be in a relationship without sex, don't be in a relationship with someone who needs to be without sex. It's quite simple, really. And I really think it would help a lot if asexuality was much more well known on dating sites, dating apps, and it was just commonplace to be asexual, you know, for some people, because I think it would solve a lot of these issues and problems we're getting where some sexuals just don't understand asexuality and they get into relationships that are just not compatible. You know, it's not good for us and it's not good for them. And hopefully more people would come out as asexual, so there'd be more partners and potential partners for people to be in a relationship with, you know? I mean, I guess some heterosexuals might be able to be without sex, but they're few and far between. But maybe if asexuality was more commonplace, then some heterosexuals who are struggling to find the right person for them, maybe they would look more to an asexual, because maybe they'd understand that some asexuals, you know, they're very intelligent, they're very creative, and you know, then they're caring and kind. I'm not saying every asexual's like this, because they're not, but you know, we've got a lot going for us. Because we're so focused on other things other than sex, it's going to make the relationship a lot more interesting, you know, than someone who just comes and sits and watches TV and has sex with you. Do you know what I mean? A lot of asexuals that I talk to in my groups, for example, a lot of them they go to like meet up groups, they go to book clubs, they maybe do some artwork. You know, they're kind of a lot more creative, I think, and intelligent and into hobbies and interests. And I think that's a more fulfilling life personally. And I think if you're in a relationship with someone who's got all this stuff going on, it's much more interesting because you've got a lot more stuff to talk about. And personally, for me, I find there's a nice attraction with creativity. I get creative attraction. So if a guy's really creative, for me, that's building websites. So if a guy builds websites, I find it both intellectually attractive and creatively attractive, because it's like they're creating something, but it also needs intelligence to do it. So that kind of fulfills both of my attractions. But, you know, even when people are working on projects, I find that creatively attractive usually, you know, because they've got a creative energy about them. And I think that's very asexy, very asexually turned on, very attractive, very like, you know, like I don't want to be in a relationship with a guy who's just not doing anything with his life basically and just sitting in front of the TV or gaming all day. I mean, there's nothing wrong with some gaming. My ex used to do gaming, but I need some more stimulation than that. Do you know what I mean? Really, I do. So yeah, I find there's a lot of gamers in the asexual community, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with gaming, but you've got to have something else to talk about, you know. But I do think, you know, quite a lot of us have hobbies and interests and stuff, and you know, I just see asexual couples. Like I know two couples that are married to each other. They're asexual, so four asexuals basically, two sets of couples, and they're both married. They're quite young, really, I think, but then I'm not into marriage anyway. And, you know, they love each other. And as far as I know, they're all sex repulsed asexuals. So I don't think they have sex. I think they just like kissing and romance. So that's really good, you know. So it's not impossible to find another asexual for a relationship. It's harder for someone like me because I'm female first of all and into guys. There's a lot tends to be a lot more female asexuals in the community than guy asexuals. Also, there's a lot more aromantic asexuals, those that don't even want a romantic relationship. They don't experience romantic attraction. Some aromantics do want relationships, though, but it's queer platonic, it's not romantic, usually. And I like younger guys, so that's harder for me in the asexual community. It's not if I want a heterosexual guy, there's loads of heterosexual guys that like an older woman, but it's usually, or in my case, older girl, it's usually because we are experienced. And usually it's because they think we're experienced in sex. I do happen to be experienced in that, but in I'm not interested in getting more experience than that, just the kissing. So it is harder, I think, for someone like me. I feel that heterosexuals don't care about age at all. It really doesn't bother them a lot for time. But I find that asexual guys, age is an issue for them, which is a shame because it's like I'm nothing like my birth certificate age. I just have to put it on asexual dating sites and apps usually because I'm honest. But I'm honest on Facebook dating and Badoo, and it doesn't bother people. There are 18-year-old guys after me. Even yesterday, I got another 18-year-old guy approach me. And I said, you know, I looked at your bio and we're not suitable. Oh, let me know if you change your mind. This is an 18-year-old. I don't usually date 18-year-olds. I've never dated an 18-year-old, by the way. 21 and up's usually what I like. So, yeah. But it's kind of like strange, isn't it? Where people just value people on how much sex they are and are not having, and people don't even consider that asexuality is a sexual orientation a lot of the time, like heterosexuals don't. They just seem to think that it's some sort of phase or fad, or it's a choice. I get so many thinking it's a choice. Like, I had a conversation with a guy in another asexual group, but I don't know if he's actually asexual. Like I said, it's up to other group admins if they want people in there like that. I'm still friends with him on Facebook, but he came to the conclusion that he's probably grey asexual from what I've said. But even so, he didn't really understand asexuality from what he was saying. And in the end, I said, it's not a choice. He goes, oh, I thought it was a choice. And I'm like, no. And usually if someone thinks asexuality is a choice, they're not actually asexual. They put themselves in an asexual group because they think they've chosen to be asexual and they've chosen the asexual lifestyle. Asexuality is not a lifestyle. Asexuality is not something you can chuck on like a coat and try it out for size. That's not how asexuality works. It isn't a lifestyle. It isn't a choice. I think some of the problem with the asexual community, if I may be so bold as to say, is that some of it is like, oh, well, if the label fits, just wear it. If not, don't bother. And it's a bit casual. Whereas you don't hear anyone really saying, oh, if you're heterosexual, like, label yourself heterosexual, but it's all right if you're not heterosexual. Label yourself something else and just toss it on there. If like, you don't really get that with the other sexualities. I don't feel, even with bisexual, pansexual, homosexual, it's not really like, oh, if the label fits, like, wear it. Because it makes it sound like asexuality is a casual thing, like a jacket that you can just try on, but if you don't want it, just get rid of it. I just don't like the way it's phrased. I think there's better ways of phrasing it. Like, say, like, I always say, research about asexuality, look into it, look into the various types of asexuals. And only when you've done your research, I think, should you even say that you're asexual. You could say, oh, I think I'm asexual. I'm in the process of researching, done some research, I am asexual. But, people are coming in to asexuality, some people not even understanding it properly. And other people aren't even researching it. And this flippant attitude of, oh, well, if you're asexual, you think you are, you can label yourself as now and then change your mind later. I do think it's fine to change your mind on your sexuality. Like, if you discover you're a different type of sexuality, I think that's fine, because at the end of the day, everyone's different, and some people do change their sexuality. Their sexuality or sexual orientation changes as they discover more and more about themselves. And they might have had some people that discriminated against the type of sexuality that they are. They might find out, for example, they're gay, not actually asexual, for example. And they've had people in their past discriminate against gays, so they didn't actually realize they are gay, or they were suppressing or repressing that part of themselves. So I think it's okay, like, if you find out you're not asexual and you're actually gay or something else, I think that's fine. But when things are said in articles like that's, it's a way it's phrased, like, it's so casual, like, oh, if you think asexuality fits, like, you can just label yourself that, and then like, kind of toss that label aside. It's a way it's said so casually, like it's not that important, like it's not a sexual orientation, like it's something you can just try on for size. I don't like the way that's phrased. I think in order for asexuality to be taken seriously as a sexual orientation, it should have some sort of fixedness about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the traits of an asexual person. If you don't fit these traits, then you're not asexual, which is, like, there are people that aren't asexual that come into community and they've just got it wrong, So I think we have to be very careful about being casual and flippant about using the term asexuality. I think, do some research, and then if you think you're asexual, fine, that's good. And there isn't a right or wrong way to be asexual, but there are some things, like, if you experience a normal sexual attraction, you're not asexual, period. If you're sexually attracted to any gender, you're asexual. But even coming into the asexual community, there's people who identify as sexual and asexual, but you really can't be both, in the sense that if you're sexually attracted to anyone, you're not asexual by the definition of, you don't lack the sexual attraction. Do you know what I mean? The usual sexual attraction to someone, to some gender. But I know some people are asexually attracted to one gender and sexually attracted to another. But if you're, if you're sexually attracted to anyone, you're not asexual. If you have the usual sexual attraction for someone of some gender, so it gets very complicated. But keep yourself safe if you're asexual. Don't do things you don't want to do. If someone's pushing you for sex and you don't want it, then I would urge you to leave that relationship, because at the end of the day, you can't stay where someone's pressurizing you to have sex and they don't love you for who you are. I am most comfortable in relationships if I'm with a heterosexual guy who's not putting any pressure on me for any sexual stuff, who's completely respecting my boundaries, and who doesn't he doesn't touch me in places I don't want to be touched, or kiss me in places I don't want to be kissed. I'm quite flexible with kissing most of the time, but it's I don't want my chest being kissed and stuff. I'm okay to kiss theirs and stuff like that, So I like it if I'm in a nightclub and a guy totally respects my boundaries, so he's not touching anywhere that I don't want him to touch, right? Because if I feel a guy's respecting my boundaries, I can feel freer sexually with him, even though I'm asexual. I don't know how else to describe that. So if I get a guy who's putting any pressure on me to have sex with him, or do sexual acts, or pushing me to touch him in any way, that really turns me off, and sex repulses me even more. But if I've got a guy who says to me, look, you can do whatever you want to my body, I don't mind, but I respect yours, and I won't touch you in any places that you don't want me to touch you in. I respect all your boundaries, and they actually follow through in that. That to me is much more sexually appealing, even though I'm not appealed to have sex, if you know what I mean. It's much more appealing to be able to engage in physical contact with that person than it is someone who's just trying to push me and grab my hand to do stuff and saying I like this, that, and the other. It's any type of pressure, I just get really repulsed. I'm talking a bit about this in my Asexual Guide to Sex book at the moment. That's why I'm kind of bringing it up as well. It's because I like to, feel free with the person. So if a heterosexual's oh, you can do whatever you want to me, well, I kind of know nothing's off limits with them, and it doesn't matter what I do, they're not going to be freaking out or anything. So I can just sit on the lap in between their legs, touch them wherever, But with me, it's I don't want them to touch my top bit. I don't want them to touch my bum full on. I don't want them to be putting their hands down there and stuff like that. And if I know that they're not doing that, they've got their hands, for example, round my back and stuff like that, which I really like, and they're kissing me without putting their hands all over my thighs and stuff, because it's I love the art of kissing and close body contact with clothes on, but if their hands start wandering and touching my thighs, which is a very sexual thing, and trying to I find that too sexual. I find it's too near my private area, really, and I just it puts me off. I find it's too sexual. I prefer sensual. And some people don't understand the difference. So sensual attraction is when you're touching someone with a regard to not having sex, if you're just focusing on the sensual. So for example, I'm very sensual with the guy's upper body. I like stroking his hair. I like, cuddling him. I like stroking his arms. And yeah, if he wants it, I will kiss his chest and stuff like that, and kiss all down his chest and things like that, and and stroke all down his arms, and maybe kiss his arms, kiss his hands, kiss his nose and earlobes and all that type of thing, because I'm very sensual the guy's upper body, and so yeah, I mean, in the past I have had sex, so I used to give my ex massages on the back and stuff like that, which is a very sensual thing as well. I don't do that type of thing usually anymore, but I might do that type of thing though still, because if the guy's clothed with his trousers on, I think I'm okay, but I haven't been in a relationship for years anyway. So I think that's also another difficult thing that I'm talking about in my Asexual Guide to Sex book at the moment. I'm still working on the edits. If you have little relationship experience, little dating experience, you don't really know what to do in a relationship, sexually. Sometimes you don't know what you like, what you don't like, so remember, when you get into a relationship with someone, just to tell them the truth. I know I like this, I don't like that, and the others, I want to experiment with you, but I might decide I don't like it. I might change my mind. I think it's very important for asexuals to put those boundaries in place in the beginning, saying I don't have sexual experience if you don't, or I have little sexual experience, and I might want to try something once, but if I don't like it, I might never want to do it again. Are you okay with that? Because if the person's not okay with it and they're going to break up with you over it, then it's better to just not have the relationship in the first place and break up before you get into any of that intimacy stuff. Because intimacy bonds you even more. Emotional intimacy bonds you to that person more. Physical intimacy bonds you to that person. If you've got both emotional connection and physical connection, I mean, that really bonds you to a person. And so you don't want to be bonding yourself so much, to someone in that way, if it's not going to work out, if you're likely to be uncompatible from the beginning, uncompatible or incompatible from the beginning, you know? So I'd urge you to like go with caution. And, you know, if you find that you're in a situation where your partner is pressurizing you for sex and you just don't want it, you're going to have to sit down and have a serious conversation and say, look, every time I, you know, like tell you I don't want sex, I feel that you're putting pressure on me. I feel that you're not accepting me for who I am. And, you know, if this continues, I just can't be in a relationship like this anymore because it's just too much. You know, it's a horrible feeling, because if an asexual doesn't want sex, they're sex repulsed, and their partner's putting like pressure on them to have sex, it just feels like you want to escape them. It can actually make some asexuals be not even affectionate with their partner. So sometimes I get sexuals come on this channel, heterosexuals, for example. They say, hey, I've discovered my partner's asexual, my partner's just discovered they're asexual, and they don't even want to cuddle me or kiss me anymore. Like, you know, like what's going on? And I think a lot of the time, I can't be certain, but a lot of the time, if you're putting any pressure on an asexual to have sex with you, then they're going to be turned off usually from kissing or cuddling you and doing intimate stuff, because usually that's a prequel to sex. Right, with me, I just like the kissing. I make that plain and clear, right? I'm not interested in going any further than kissing, cuddling, that type of thing, you know. And so that is, for me, the kissing is the start of the main course and the dessert in intimacy, right? It's the be all and end all for me, right? And physical, in a relationship, I'd be body intertwined with clothes on, so I would get more physically close like that. But in a club, it's like kissing, basically. Not sat on their lap and stuff usually, not in clubs. That's usually reserved for relationships. I have different rules for clubbing to actual relationships. I have more physical intimacy in relationships, but not sex, and not these days. And so I think you have to establish from the beginning of that connection and the relationship, like what physical stuff you're happy with, what you're not happy with. But you have to understand that if you're a heterosexual person who's getting into a relationship with an asexual person, and if they sense from you that you're going to pressurize them to have sex, if they kiss you and stuff, they're not going to want to kiss you or cuddle you. They're going to want to hold back on that. They're going to be trying to escape that. They're going to be trying to do other things and put themselves off doing that, even if it's subconsciously. They'll be plowing themselves into other activities because, you know, they don't want kissing as a prequel to sex. If they're sex repulsed, they just want the kissing. And if they feel that you're going to just push them for sex or try stuff on and touch them in places they don't want to be touched when the kissing gets more intense, they're just going to want to run away from you. And so I think that's a huge problem. You know, I think if people realize they're asexual, you do need to actually ask them, like, okay, you've discovered you're asexual, so what does that mean in terms of intimacy for us? Like, what are you comfortable doing? What are you not comfortable with doing? Because until you find out you're asexual, a lot of the time you'll do stuff that you don't really want to do, or that you're not that interested in, because you think it's what you're supposed to do in a relationship, what's normal. But it might not be normal for asexuals to do that. It usually isn't, you know. And so, like, in the past, I had sex because I thought that's what I'm meant to do as part of a normal relationship. There's no such thing as normal, but I thought that's what's expected of me, and I just did it because that's what I've been brought up to think is the right thing to do. But I would have rather have not had the sex and just had loads of kissing, you know. That's why I'm very keen to, like, speak up front about how much kissing I like to do and stuff, because if a guy can't match my kissing needs and I feel I'm going to be kissing deprived, then I don't want a relationship with him. I don't want to get into that situation. And if you know you really need sex and you really like it and want it and can't live without it and you'll feel sex deprived, then don't be with an asexual. You know, it's a compatibility issue, isn't it? And the last thing you want to do is like be doing stuff that my new word is asexy. Oh, thanks, Heather. Yeah, asexy is I've done some tops on that, t-shirts on Amazon, I think, Redbubble. Yeah, so asexy is basically being sexy without the sexual attraction. I'm very asexy, but I'm quite sexy to sexuals as well. I know that about myself. Yeah, so it's a great word, asexy is. But I do know that some, you know, like asexuals, if they think they're going to be pressurized into sex, then they're not going to want to kiss and cuddle. However, it might just be that someone's discovered they're asexual and woken up to how they really truly feel. And for them, they might not like much kissing and touching because they've realized that they don't have to do that anymore, because there's thousands of other asexuals around the globe and they don't have to do it. The penny's dropped. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you're heterosexual, for example, and they turn out to be asexual partway through the relationship, you really have to have serious conversations with that person, and sit them down and say, hey, I'm glad you've discovered who you are. I'm glad you've discovered your asexuality. Like, what does that mean for you? Like, where do you identify on the asexual spectrum, for example? Like, where does that leave us in terms of intimacy, like kissing and cuddling and touching and stuff like that? I just want to know so that I can respect your boundaries, I can respect you, and I know what you truly like now or not. And it may mean that you have to eventually split out with that person. If you are a heterosexual, for example, and your asexual partner has just discovered they're asexual, but maybe they do retract a lot of the kissing and the cuddling, and it isn't a case of feeling pressurized to have sex problem. It's just a case they woke up to the fact they don't really even need the kissing that much, and the romance. They're not bothered about it, and you really crave that. Then it might mean you need to split up. If you want a monogamous relationship with each other, it might mean you need to split up. Sadly, because people do change, and it's awful, but it happens. And I just want you to be aware of that, because I personally cannot be in a relationship without kissing. If I started getting into a relationship and the guy didn't want to kiss me lots, and it was just like, say in the beginning he told me like, oh yeah, I'm cool about kissing a lot, but he didn't really want to do that, and then as the relationship progressed I wasn't getting that, I would seriously not be in a happy place and state, because I'll be like, I really need that. It's a physical need. It's my favorite physical thing to do in a relationship with a guy. It's like I like it like a hobby. And if a guy doesn't want to do that and he'd just be saying, oh, I like kissing, and then he'd just be doing it quite a bit in the beginning, but not that, I'd feel kissing deprived. Because my ex, my last long-term ex, he used to love kissing like I did. Like, he would be kissing me around theme park zoos when we're waiting for theme park rides. Like, he'd be kissing and cuddling me in the queue, which I loved. He would be like holding my hand in the city, kissing wherever, not caring what people think. And I did actually like that part of the relationship with him. He wasn't good in other ways, but if I'm saying things that were good, I love the fact that we would go to zoos, aquariums, and kissing. I still like going to these places with my friends, but I'm not going to go around kissing and holding their hand and cuddling them. That's stuff I only do in a romantic relationship. And for me, because I'm very asexy, I'm going to use your word, Heather. Well, the word that's not coined by Heather. It's a word that's been going a long time, and I've spoke about this before on the channel, but because you use it tonight, I'm going to say it now. Yeah, asexy. I am a very asexy girl. Like, I do like a lot of sensuality, some erogenicity. Erogenicity is a brand I made up, actually. It's a YouTube channel. I put some more erogenous stuff on that channel. I don't hardly ever go on it because I get too erogenous for my own good on it. I'm like, I have to do videos that are a bit more too erogenous for me, and I get sex repulsed by it. So I haven't done much on that channel. But yeah, so I talk about more intimate stuff on that channel. But I'm erogenous with the guy's upper body. I like sitting in between his legs, on his lap, all that. So I like really close physical contact, but with clothes on in a relationship. So it's difficult for me, because I think in some ways I'm much more suited to a heterosexual guy, but then in other ways I'm much more suited to an asexual guy. So it's really hard, because in terms of my behavior, some of it can be quite sexual, but it's not usually sexual enough. And I know, like, in terms of asexuality, a lot of asexuals, they don't actually like much kissing. It's mostly cuddling with them. Like, from the asexual groups I'm in, the majority of them do not like much kissing. They find it repulsive. They just like a peck on the cheek or a little peck on the lips. And it's mostly cuddles they want. And I'm just like the opposite of that, really. I do like cuddling, but kissing's far more important to me. But usually, obviously, you cuddle when you kiss anyway, a lot of the time. But you can kiss a lot without cuddling too. So yeah, I find it really hard that. But like, so have important, honest conversations with your asexual partner. Like, if they've discovered partway through their relationship with you they're asexual, ask them about the kissing and the cuddling. Like, say, like, obviously, like, if you've been having sex with them as well, that's going to be quite difficult to not have that anymore if you're used to that. So I would actually sit down and talk to the person and ask them, like, what do you actually like? I know we've been doing this stuff, but you didn't realize you're asexual then. And has the fact you're asexual, well, the fact you're asexual now, has that changed in terms of how much physical touching you want, in terms of kissing and cuddling, not just the sex? Because, if it has, and you're not getting your needs met, it's important for both people to get their needs met. Even though I'm asexual, I'm not heterosexual, or I thought I was heterosexual for years. I still realise everyone's got needs in relationships, physical needs. Like, if you can't get your sexual needs met with an asexual person, and the asexual person is not getting their asexual needs met because you're pressurizing them for sex and they don't want to do it, then it's incompatible relationship and you need to split up. If you can't work out a compromise, for example, in terms of like you masturbate yourself, which might not be a compromise to you because you're doing something to yourself, or for example, they're willing to masturbate you and do some sexual stuff with you but not have full-blown intercourse. Like if you can't come to any decisions about that, then you need to asexy means intelligence for the asexual. Asexy actually means sexy without the sexual attraction. That's what asexy means. So asexual is absence of sexual attraction. Asexy is like sexiness without the sexual attraction. That's what it means. Intelligence attraction is intelligence attraction. They're actually two separate things. But some people could find intelligence asexy as well, if that makes sense, Heather. Does that make sense? So, different people who are asexual can find different things asexy. So it doesn't have to be a person per se. They could find something about the person asexy. So it's like they turned on but without the attraction, if you know what I mean. But asexy is meant to mean like something sexy but without the sexual attraction. But obviously some people could find, I don't know, a cake that's asexy. They're not sexually attracted to a cake, they find it very sexy. But when I'm eating certain foods, I think foods are sexy. I just don't want to have sex with them, but they're far more sexy than people half the time. Asexy foods. Foodgasmic foods. Yeah. So surely asexy could be any, I don't know that type of word, attraction type. Asexy means you find something sexy without the sexual attraction. That's what it means. So, because obviously intelligence attraction is intelligence attraction. You've got creative attraction, spiritual attraction, emotional attraction, but you could still find an emotional attraction, intelligence attraction sexy or asexy, because that could be your, like some people are only attracted by intelligence. Sapiosexuals, for example, they're only attracted by is any other attraction that isn't romantic or sexual. Well, asexy in and of itself is something you find sexy without sexual attraction. Something you find sexy without sexual attraction. But asexy in and of itself isn't an actual attraction. It's a way that you experience attraction, if you know what I mean. Sapio is aspec, correct? Sapiosexual is someone who's attracted to someone sexually by intelligence. So I didn't know for some time that sapiosexual can be on the asexual spectrum. I don't think every sapiosexual classes themselves as asexual, but I have seen it as part of the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum. So sapio asexual. So I'm sapio asexual. I'm intelligently attracted to someone in an asexual way, but sapiosexual is someone who's sexually attracted. They can be highly sexually attracted to someone, but they have to have an intelligence connection first. They have to be intelligently attracted to them for sexual attraction. If they do, it's valid. Yeah, so so some people I've seen in asexual groups actually kick people out or not nice to sapiosexuals. They're not nice to sapioromantics either. And so that's not me, but I've seen other groups kick people out for being sapiosexual or sapioromantic. Saying it's all biased and stuff like that. I'm like, no, it's not. Because intelligence is subjective. So intelligence is subjective to what you believe it is. So for me, I get intelligence attraction with guys who can build websites. I also mentioned I get creative attraction with that as well with guys. Because to me, building websites, when you can code, who are coders specifically, I can build websites without coding. So I find that really intelligent. I call guys cute. Anything beyond that is gross. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, so I've come across sapiosexuals that don't class themselves on the asexual spectrum as well. I've even known some phrasexuals who do class themselves on the asexual spectrum and phrasexuals who don't. I've even come across a demisexual who doesn't class themselves as on the asexual spectrum, on the LGBT, but not the asexual spectrum. So that's very interesting. So we have to have an awareness that even though there's a grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum, some people who we would class as grey asexual, they don't actually class themselves. They just class themselves as a different type of sexual, if you know what I mean. But a frey romantic person, so frey romantic is someone who is romantically attracted to someone, but once they get into a relationship with them, that attraction wears off. A frey sexual person is someone who experiences sexual attraction, but then that wears off after they got into a relationship. So as soon as it's reciprocated, it wears off, which is the opposite to demisexual. A sapiosexual person is someone who's sexually attracted to someone by intelligence. A sapioromantic person is someone who is romantically attracted to someone only when they got an emotion, only when they got an intelligence connection. So sapiosexual is the sexual attraction based on intelligence, and then sapioromantic is romantic attraction based on intelligence. So yeah, my frey romantic ass is losing feelings for my boyfriend. Oh dear, that's really difficult. That's really difficult. Sorry, I'm trying to moderate the comments. Like, have the comments shown because they're while I'm doing chat on my phone. I'm trying to show it. Another moderator just handled this. I must have like pressed it twice. Yeah. So it's hard when you're a frey romantic finds it really difficult because a frey romantic, like I said, they get into a relationship with someone and their feelings basically die off. So if they're frey sexual and frey romantic, that's really hard. But you can get someone who's frey sexual, and who's maybe romantic, but not frey romantic. If you get someone who's frey romantic and frey sexual, the romantic feelings wear off and the sexual feelings wear off. But if you get someone who's frey sexual but normal romance, if you know what I mean, even if the sexual attraction wears off, then they can still have romantic feelings. But some of the frey sexuals, they still seek out another relationship because they need the sex. If they're frey sexual, the romantic feelings are not enough. But if they've got, if they have both feelings being lost, then a lot of the time it's hard for them to stay in a relationship because they just lose interest. Like they don't have that attraction anymore. So it's not really easy for them to stay in the relationship a lot of the time. It's very difficult. And with sapiosexuals, I've met a sapiosexual, and you love guys, I love guys I don't know, says Violet. Well, I can love guys that I don't know, but I've grown to know them a bit, if you know what I mean. Romantically, yeah. Well, I can do that, but I don't actually lose that romance for them. Unfortunately, it takes me months. It's like when I say I don't know them, like I get I don't experience platonic attraction, which is very weird for asexual person. So I skip the platonic stage and I go straight to some type of attraction. So most of my guy friends I have some feelings for, even though I wished I didn't. They can be different. So one of them I might be intelligently attracted to or creatively attracted to. Another one I might be romantically attracted to. Sandra on the mic again. Everybody listen up. She's got lots of information. Oh, Nelly! Is it Nelly or Neely? Lots of love to you. I love seeing your comments. They always cheer me up. Thank you for your support. Yeah, so it's always interesting, isn't it? Yeah, so I don't experience platonic attraction, which is very, very rare. I love the hand. Thank you. And as someone who doesn't experience platonic attraction, I completely skip that stage. So I can meet a guy and not know him very long and then have love feelings for him. So this is what happened with the Indian guy in Exeter recently. Sandra, I hope the title is just a joke. It's not a joke, Violet. I've been through all that. There's a guy who wanted me to try and help him to get his girlfriend to have sex with him when she's a sex-repulsed asexual. It's very true, the title, and he was asking if he could take her to a doctor and get her some medicine to make her have sex with him. Basically, it's disgusting. But I've gone through all that on this video, so I don't want to repeat myself all the time. We've gone on to different topics now, but yes, it's actually very true what I said in this title, because that's what I started the whole show with, which we'll have to go back and look at. What the fuck? Ooh, he's crazy. Yeah. He was literally in my Facebook saying to me he applied for my asexual friends group. He's not even asexual, and said that my girl, I've got a problem and a question. My girlfriend's asexual. How can I get her to have sex with me? I want sex, but I said, well, you can't if she doesn't want it. He's like, oh, can I take her to a doctor? Can I get her some medicine? I'm like, it's not a disorder. It just makes me fuming. People like that, you know? Absolutely fuming and disgusting. It's like sexual abuse, basically. And he's basically saying, oh, she's not going to get anyone else like she wants around here. I'm like, they have asexuals in Bangladesh, India. You know, they have the Middle East, and they have them all over. I get a lot of foreign guys coming in, and they think, oh, because they live in some foreign country, like, you know, Middle East, that, oh, no one's asexual out there. It's just like not normal. And it's like rubbish. There are groups that you know, for asexuals in India, Bangladesh, and all types of stuff. You know, there's Pakistani asexuals, and just drives me nuts. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I don't experience platonic attraction. So with the Indian guy I met at the cinema, I got love feelings for him, and I'm getting over that at the moment. And if you, I hope you've watched my live streams about that. If you haven't, to cut a very long story short, I met him at the cinema. I became friends with him, had feelings for him of more than friendship, which I didn't think I get because he had facial hair. But I had a vision of a guy 2 weeks before I met him, and this vision of a guy, Indian guy, I thought was my soulmate. When I met him at the cinema, he looked nothing like this guy because he had facial hair, long hair. And then when I saw a picture on Instagram, I realized it was him in my vision, my waking vision, which I've not been able to do before. It was definitely him. And so I assumed he was my soulmate. Then he revealed to me that he loves a woman back in India, but he's never going back to India. And then, so he said there was no chance of a relationship with me and him. And then, unfortunately, he led me to believe there is a possibility of a future relationship between me and him, and changed what he was saying, and then answered questions accordingly to do with that. And then retract that and said, no, he's not romantically attracted to me at all. And so it was really a bit of a mind fuck for me, excuse my language. And he gaslighted me because he denied. Where did I say that about possible suitable for relationship? I said, you described yourself. I said it was you. And then I asked you a question saying you've hinted that you might be able to be in a possible relationship with me in the future. And so I've got a couple of questions. One is, could you live without sex in a relationship? Like, you know what I mean? He answered it. Like, he answered both the questions. And so, yeah, it was just like, and that was really upsetting. And he never apologized for hurting my feelings. And so I'm not friends with him anymore. I'm not seeing him anymore. But it was horrible because I got feelings for him really quickly. Like, I didn't mean to. I thought I wouldn't, because obviously the facial hair usually puts me off. I at the time when I first saw him, I wasn't that attracted to him. I was a bit because he's Indian, obviously, but he had the aesthetic look that's not my usual type. It wasn't a full beard, but it wasn't like my usual type. And so I thought that the friendship feelings that I would have would far outweigh any other type of feelings that I might get. But I was completely wrong, because I emotionally connected with him a lot because we're having conversations daily. But it was mostly me driving the conversations forward the majority of the time. Mostly me asking him questions and helping him with things in his life. If I'm looking back on it, he did reply, he did respond and message me back each day and stuff, and he did keep the conversation going. But it was more me driving it all the time, if you know what I mean. And I've had to part with him. He has got dark thoughts and stuff as well, so that's really not good, you know. But I got love feelings for him, but my love feelings don't go away. Like, because I'm hyper romantic, I don't experience platonic attraction. Everything's backwards for me, so it can take me up to 8 months to lose the love feelings for this person, lose love feelings for any guy. So I only knew him for about 11 days before I got full on, like, before I was declaring love feelings for him. Like, that's not much time, you know. I'm not saying it's full-blown love. I'd still say it's not full-blown love. It's love feelings, you know. Especially, it's not reciprocated, so it can't be. But that's the honest truth, you know. And I'm honest on this channel. Like, some people might think, oh, that's complete crazy. How can you have any love feelings for someone you don't know? But I do have an open heart. I'm very kind and caring. I do see he's got a lot of dark things that aren't good, but I do see goodness in him still. I can see goodness in people that maybe can't even see it in themselves. And so, and I did genuinely care about him and care about his well-being and all that type of thing. But I've had to let him go from my life because he didn't apologize for hurting my feelings. He knew I was hurt the first time, that he didn't reciprocate my feelings, but that's fair enough. If he's not attracted to me, he's not attracted to me. But then to make out there is a possibility of a relationship with me and him in the future just really upset me. And then he admitted it's because he just wanted to keep me as a friend. So it was for his own personal gain, basically. It wasn't for my benefit that he said that. And, it's just awful. It's an awful situation for me to be in. So I'm recovering from that, I'm recovering from the disappointment and the upset and the fact that I didn't even get an apology from him. So, but, it's good that I'm not around darkness like that anymore. But I don't want any harm to come to him, I do get worried about him even now because I don't want any harm to come to him. I do still really care about him. And it'll take me a long time to stop those feelings because I don't just stop them. Like, the only way I can stop the feelings is by not being in contact with that person anymore. So I'm not in contact with them. Like, they can't get access to me on Facebook or Instagram. Well, it's not like they can't because they could probably find me on one of my business pages because I'm not difficult to find. But I mean, we're not connected anymore. So relationships are always work no matter what your sexuality, right? Or, oh, life is a crazy ride. Yeah, yes, relationships are always work. And a lot of people have the idea that you don't have to work for a relationship or a friendship, and it's just not true. If you want a healthy relationship or a healthy friendship, it takes work on both partners or people's sides. And, it's like if you realize everything else takes work, then why wouldn't you put work and time and energy, effort into a friendship or relationship? But a lot of people don't, and that's why they end up with broken relationships, unhealthy friendships, broken friendships, one-sided friendships, because people don't want to do the work. And it's like, where did you get this idea from that a relationship and friendship isn't work? If you go into work and work with work colleagues, you still have to work at getting along with them. You still have to do team work with them. And a relationship is teamwork. It requires two people or more. A friendship that's healthy, it requires teamwork, like both people equally wanting to put time, energy, and effort into it as much as possible. Yes, there's going to be some days when one person is going to probably talk more than the other because it's kind of natural, because things might go on their day and they're not so talkative, and another person might have had a really difficult day and 55,000 things happen and they just want to blurt it all out. And people have different personality types, but in general, they should be equal amount of conversation, communication, keeping the friendship and relationship going. They should be people asking to meet up with each other, not just one person asking to meet up with that person. They should be making plans with each other and stuff like that, This was a thing that was difficult with the guy because he suggested meet up, and then I'm like, well, I need to plan it. He's like, oh, well, I'm spontaneous. And it's like, well, I need to plan stuff around my work. I can't just go and take off all the time. And if we were going to go somewhere, I need to plan that in my day. I can't just do that out of the blue. So that wasn't really going to work, I don't think, either. But, it's like, if he loves someone else, that's fair enough. But he shouldn't have made me believe there was a chance of a relationship with me and him just to keep me as his friend. Like, it's my choice at the end of the day if I don't want to be connected to him still, because I thought he was single when I met him. He is actually single. The woman he loves doesn't feel romance for him. So, and he's not intending to go back to India, and she's at the moment not coming over here. So I can't see how that ever happening. I think it's a bit of a fantasy with him, to be honest. But I think maybe he prefers a fantasy to reality. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I developed love feelings for him, and it is what it is, and I'm recovering from that now because I can't have communication and contact with him anymore, because I can't be friends with someone who like can't even say sorry for hurting my feelings. I mean, that's not a true friend. That's not someone who cares about me. That's someone who doesn't care. That's someone who just thinks of themselves, sadly. So, that's not a standard I have for my friendships, and if a person can't apologize, then they're not going to be a good person anyway, like people sometimes come from their ego instead of like caring. And it's a really red flag if the person can't say sorry. Like, if you really care about someone, you've hurt their feelings, you automatically want to say, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings, because you just care about them. If you don't care, if like the person did say they feel bad, but they didn't say, I feel bad I hurt you, I feel bad that I hurt your feelings. They're just like, oh, I feel bad. So it's like they're feeling bad for themselves. Oh, good luck for you, Sandra. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be fine, but I've been feeling a bit down, you know? So that looks like a genie, is it? It's so cute. But yeah, I've been feeling a bit down because I've been trying to get over that person because I genuinely cared about them and they're not in a good place in their mind, I know. And I do worry about them because I still want them to be happy and okay and well, you know, and I know they've got a lot of hardships in their life. So, you know, but at the end of the day, if they're not going to treat me well, even as a friend, then it's not something I can continue with, you know what I mean? So I'm much better off on my own. Like I did actually want to have like a friend in Exeter because my friends don't live in Exeter. It would have been nice, but you know, with the romance feelings anyway, I'm better off like not having that connection because they'll just intensify more and more for him. And they were getting really intense as it was, you know. I was thinking about him like when I woke up, when I went to sleep, and all that type of thing. It's like but it's like full blown love, really, in some of the things. Like it's like I was thinking about him from morning till night, worrying about him all the time, thinking like, is he okay? And all this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is so intense. So yeah, I'm glad to like not have that intensity anymore and to be like, you know, but obviously when you've been that intense with someone, even if it's for a short period of time, you're like having to like detoxify from the intensity, if you know what I mean, like detach from it, if you know what I mean. And so, you know, I will get over him, but I mean, like like I said, I take about 8 months to get over someone, like the feelings to go away for them. And sometimes it don't even happen. Like a guy can come back into my life and I can end up with feelings for him just like I did before. You know, it can happen because like it doesn't necessarily always happen. Like another Indian guy's come back into my life recently on Facebook. I did a live stream about that last night. And it's like he hasn't spoke to me for like 11 months. And I know he's just doing it so he while his feelings in me again. But it's like I don't feel that much for him like I used to. Maybe still have some inkling there, but at the end of the day, it's not like I used to because it's like I know what he's like now and we're completely incompatible. And I would not meet up with a guy who's got narcissistic traits and who gaslighted me before and lied. You know what I mean? So it's just completely out of the question. I want to find a nice, caring, loving, committed guy for me, you know? And a guy who accepts my asexuality, not someone who tries to make me have sex or thinks I'll change my mind or doesn't accept my asexuality or someone who's like, you know, like, just lying that they're okay without sex or lying they're all right about my asexuality. I've had that quite a bit. What's been really annoying is some of the dates I've had. Like the last date I had from Facebook dating, the actual date, was a Pakistani guy, and he said he was fine about my asexuality. And then when we met up, he wasn't fine about it. It's like, oh, my family won't like it. My extended family won't like it. And I'm like, so that was a nightmare, you know? So I think it's better to make sure you get with someone who is as compatible with you as possible in the first place. And if not, stay single and be happy. It's much better to stay single and be happy than it is with the wrong person making you miserable. You know, there's a lot we can do as a solo artist of life, including self-dating. I do like kissing guys in clubs as well. The benefit of me being single is I can kiss whatever guys I want in whatever clubs I want, providing they want that whenever I want. If I get into a serious commit relationship, I'd need a lot of kissing because otherwise I'd be just like, well, I'm actually able to kiss guys in clubs and I'm not getting any kissing here, you know? So it'll be quite difficult, I think, for me to give that up in some ways. Like you know, only if a guy's really serious would it be easy for me. Because if a guy's not serious about me and they're not really into kissing, I don't want to give up the opportunity to have quite a lot of kissing with other guys if a guy is not really into kissing, like, you know, and I want to have a monogamous relationship. So yeah. So when I was going back to Frey romantic, we were talking about a Frey romantic person is a person who does feel romantic feelings initially for someone and then they die out. With me, I'm the opposite to that. So I have strong romantic feelings initially and they just don't die out. They get stronger and stronger and it's hard for me to even stop them. So the only way I can stay friends with someone, a guy, because I only have romantic feelings for guys, the only way I can stay friends with a guy is if the friendship feelings are more intense and more in bigger, if you know what I mean, that I've got more friendship feelings for them, stronger friendship feelings I have romantic feelings. If the romance is very strong and too intense, and I can't just be friends with someone like that. And usually they can get very intense, and I've only been I've able to be like, so I have 3 friends, all of which I have some feelings for, some attraction for, because I don't experience platonic attraction, but none of them are so strong that I can't be friends with any of them, because the friendship feelings for them are far outweigh the romantic feelings for them. With one person, it took quite a long time to be able to do that, though. It was really difficult with one of them, very difficult, but I managed to get through that, and I'm glad I did. But it's really hard, and people just automatically assume that every asexual experiences platonic attraction, and I don't. So that can get quite weird. It's like I just don't, and people don't understand. Like, and it's obviously difficult as well, because a lot of people who do have a platonic attraction, they wouldn't just be like necessarily having attraction for me as soon as I would have attraction for them. So for them, it might take a lot longer. It might need a emotional connection in order for them to be attracted to me. It might take longer for them to be attracted to me, because, you know, they don't experience a lack of platonic attraction like I experience. But then on dating sites, you know, they're just automatically attracted to my looks. A guy likes me, so they've already got some initial attraction, but that's aesthetic, you know, rather than emotional. And emotional is the one you need for stability in an actual serious, committed, healthy relationship. So there we go. Anyway, I hope you found this live stream insightful. I've been streaming now for like an hour and 50 minutes. If you got any questions, please either post them now or leave them down below after this live stream's ended. Remember, as you're asexual, if you're sex repulsed and don't want sex, don't allow someone to pressurize you and force you into sex. Leave that relationship if they're pressurizing you for something you don't want, because it's just going to cause you aggravation, upset, and pain if they go on at you about something that you don't want to do. They should accept you for who you are, take the pressure off, because if they're pressurizing you, it's going to cause you emotional upset, which is in turn going to cause you physical pain, because emotions are connected to the physical aspects of your body as well, and it's going to be no good for you. It's like some people are just sexually incompatible, and that's okay. It happens, and you have to part ways, you know, that's just the way it is. But it's better to do that than end up in an abusive relationship with someone who doesn't accept you for who you are, or it's just incompatible. It's emotionally upsetting for both of you, and you both feel deprived, or you're not getting your needs met. You know, both asexual and sexual people both need to get their needs met in a relationship. And if you're not, and you feel like it's not working, and there's more bad times than good, then leave the relationship. It's no good. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Grab a copy of my best-selling book, Asexual Perspective, if you haven't already. It is a best-selling book now on Amazon. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And grab a copy of my autobiographical Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook on Amazon as well. And I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. I want to thank everyone that's been in chat tonight. I know I can't see everyone's message, but there's been Neely and Violet, and there's been Heather as well. And there were some people earlier as well. So Jonathan, and yeah, so Gamer, lots of them. If I haven't read your name out, thank you for coming on here anyway. I do appreciate you. And yeah, I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Lots of love. Bye. Have a nice day.